Right, let's have a go and look at a Year 12 style AQA Macroeconomics Multiple Choice question paper. Lots of fun, lots of fun. Let's do it. Question 1. Lower inflation in an economy is most likely to be achieved if there is an increase in... So you want to have low AD or you want to have lots of AS. Those would create low inflation. So an increase in productivity, it looks like it would increase AS and decrease inflation. Here's the explanation. Your long run AS shifts right, and that will make your P1 fall to P2. Structural unemployment is the type of unemployment that's caused by long-term changes in what people want to buy and do in the economy. So a recession isn't really thought of being that kind of long-term changing the actual pattern that people buy things. It's more like the switch to online working or the switch away from manufacturing in the UK. So we're looking for something like the skills. It's a mismatch of skills between what workers have because they were useful in the past maybe, but not what is wanted at the moment. The next question, we have the GDP for a country. We have that real national income. Aha, we're not given real national income. Look at this one. So we have to work out real GDP. And the way to do that is we take our GDP. The way I do it is I divide it by the CPI, which has been divided by 100. So in 2009, in my calculator, in 2009, the real GDP would be 100 divided by 120 over 100, which is 83-ish. And in 2010, let's do the same thing. So it's 130 divided by 150 divided by 100, which is 86. So it's increased. Aggregate demand may fall. Watch out for that one. So AD falls if there's less C or I or G or X or more M. So I know that's not the answer. A decrease in savings relative to investment. Government budget. Okay. Oh, these are all tricky. Right. It's not the last one. Government's budget deficit. So that budget deficit means G is greater than T. That's decreasing, government spending is decreasing, and tax is increasing. And that seems to work out. That's an answer. Which of the following sets of changes in an economy would most likely bring about an improvement in its balance of payments deficit? Right, so the balance of payments deficit means X is smaller than M. And we need to improve that. So we want more X and less M. So we're looking for decreased taxes in income. Okay, how does this link? Decreased taxes on income, more consumption, including on imports maybe, which is, I think, the wrong way around. Increased taxes should do the opposite, less consumption, including on imports. So that's looking better. A fall in the exchange rate, if that happens, exports fall in price. Yeah, so you should export more. And an increase in labor productivity. Okay, then your long run AS shifts right. And that's really great because then the price of your exports again start to fall because now you're producing goods a lot cheaper. So that looks like a really good one. An economy has experienced inflation with the price level rising. And this is because the short run AS has shifted left. So that shifts left because of higher average cost of production. So we're looking for something like that. So an increase in costs. We're looking raw materials getting more expensive or something. Don't think that's related to raw material, maybe. More budget. It's not really related. I think that will link to AD because of government spending. Money, wages increasing faster than productivity. So interestingly, we don't have the long run AS, and I'm just double checking the question. It has experienced inflation. So if money wages increase, if wages increase, costs of production have increased. Now I think it's a bit odd that they haven't drawn the long run, because productivity, okay, so if productivity increases, that decreases ATC, so I reckon they're saying the wage increase is higher, so that would shift it left overall. The euro decline in value against other major currencies. Which of the following combinations indicates the most likely consequences for the economies of the eurozone? So the eurozone fell in value, so that's going to make its exports in the EU cheaper and imports coming into the EU more expensive. So its exports should increase. And so if X increases, M falls. How does that link to growth? We are going to get more X minus M, more AD. There should be more growth. And because there's more growth, there's been less unemployment. So I think I like the look of A. More innovation in an economy. That's going to shift your long run AS to the right. So an increase in trend rate of growth. Yeah, did you know your long run AS determines your potential, your long run term trend rate of growth? An economy producing at point X, it's inside the PPF. And we're trying to move to Y. So we're not shifting the potential of the economy, we're not shifting the long run AS, we're not shifting the PPF. So I'm not looking for more factors of production that weren't there before. I'm not looking for more quality, I'm looking instead for just possibly more demand of those goods and services. If interest rates increase, that's not going to increase demand. I don't think that's going to help. Increased saving, I don't know, it doesn't look like it's going to increase demand either. Could be wrong. An increase in imports and a reduction in exports. No, increased imports, that's bad for AD. Increased imports decreases AD. An increase in government spending, increases AD. Reduction in the exchange rate, yeah, this is going to increase X minus M, so it's going to increase AD. That's the answer. That was exciting. A lot of no. Which of the following is most likely to cause the long run AS curve to shift to the right? We're looking for more factors or higher quality of those factors of production. So the provision of funds to finance investment. Okay, so if there's more investment, there'll be more capital. More capital means more long run AS. I mean, this sounds like it's okay. An increase in consumption which causes a rise, no. That looks like it's an AD factor. Rise in consumption, AD. More unemployment benefits, AD stuff. So that looks like the best option. Aggregate demand is decreasing. So we're looking for less C, less I, less G, less X, more M. Could be explained by an increase in, imports. Whoops. GDP changing between 2000 and 2010. So we have the economy growing every single year aside from this year. Oh no, inflation was constant at 2%. I'm thinking we're going to get a real GDP calculation. Real GDP decreased between 2007 and 2008. No, because the economy is growing at 3.5%. and 2.5%, which is above the rate of inflation. So the economy is growing faster than inflation, so real GDP should increase. Real national output increased each year from 2002. So we know what's on the axes. We know GDP. GDP has increased for sure since 2002 because all of these things have been positive. Just double checking this one. It's at 2000 prices, so it's using base year prices. So I like that. This one is already taking into account real values. A sustained fall in the exchange rate, the pound falls, we're going to have exports getting cheaper, imports getting more expensive, M is going to fall, X is going to increase. And so X minus M is going to increase, which increases AD. That's going to increase prices. Wrong way around. It's a decrease in inflation. Watch out for that one. Less competitiveness, not true, because our exports are cheaper. They'll sell easier. Economic growth is falling, no, so we have more AD. Yeah, D is the answer. So because there's been more AD, there's been more growth, more output. More output means that there's more employment, which means there's less unemployment. Supply side of the economy, okay, we're looking for some long run AS shifting. That's more factors or higher quality. Yeah, it could originate from the business sector. Just anything that shifts the long run AS. Does not involve monetary policy. Does not reduce potential output. You're looking for a shift right. And it could be aimed to control inflation, but actually it usually tries to increase growth. So I don't like that one. A is the answer. Multiplier effect of an increase in an investment in an economy is... What is this talking about? Increase in productive capacity. This is talking about, does it shift the long run AS? No, the multiplier operates by increasing AD by more than the initial injection, so I don't like that one. A larger increase in national income than, yeah, this is what I've said. You have the initial injection, such as investment, and then that has multiple effects on the economy. So you kind of have an initial AD impact, and then it increases even further because of the multiplier. So it's a larger increase in national income than the initial investment. If inflation in the UK economy fell, it can be concluded that there's been disinflation. So I'm looking for something related to that. Fingers crossed. Money incomes in the UK has decreased. No, it's all about prices, not necessarily incomes. Prices of the goods or services in the UK have fallen. They have not fallen. They've increased by 1%. UK goods have become more competitive in international markets. They're 1% more expensive. I think that's unlikely. I don't know. I don't have the info from this. The cost of living for the average person in the UK is continuing to rise. Yeah, goods are more expensive. 1% more expensive. Country experiences both unemployment and persistent surpluses in the balance of payments. Okay, which one of the following is most likely both to increase employment? Wow, okay, I'm taking this in chunks. Let's look at a policy to increase employment. Increasing interest rates will not help, because that will decrease consumption and decrease AD. Decrease AD decreases Y, which decreases employment. This sounds good. This will increase AD, which will increase output, which will increase employment. Increasing budget surplus. Okay, budget surplus means you are spending less than your tax. So increasing that must have meant that you have decreased government spending or increased tax, which is bad for AD. Don't like that one either. Rise in the exchange rate. No, this decreases X minus M. This decreases AD. So I like the sound of B, but I actually haven't checked the other one. So I'm going to try and see how that might affect the balance of payments. If there's more government spending, you could say that maybe there'll be more consumption, including on imports, and therefore the balance of payments, current account surplus will fall. Which combination is most likely to result from these changes? So we are looking at labor productivity increasing, and a second thing of income per head falling. So if labor productivity increases, we are looking at a long run AS curve shifting to the right. And if that shifts to the right, the price level should fall. So I'm looking for something, at least with that one, for inflation to decrease. And if there's less income, that should decrease AD because there's less consumption. So that will also reduce inflation. And in terms of the balance of payments, if there's less consumption, there's less spending on inputs. So that should actually help to increase X minus M, which is part of what the current account shows. So that should actually, well, it should improve X minus M, but the deficit itself should fall, therefore. So I'm looking for D. That was super sneaky. Did you see how they flipped the word around? That was sneaky. Which of the following situations is the government most likely to pursue an expansionary fiscal policy? So you're looking for more government spending and you're looking for less taxes. And usually the government does this when there's a short term, very soon there's going to be a recession, or you're in a recession and you need to prevent it or get out of it faster. A positive output gap means you're in a boom, so that is not the answer. The expansionary fiscal policy to increase aggregate demand does not do anything to the long run. Did you know the long run requires the long run AS to shift? So that's not right. There is a high level of structural unemployment. That probably won't be affected because even though you're spending more, to reduce structural unemployment, you need to spend it specifically on retraining schemes. Don't like the sound of that one. If cyclical unemployment is increasing, this could be eliminated by getting out of the recession. So that sounds to be the answer. So we've got China causing rising commodity prices. So I'm guessing this is going to increase firms' average costs and shift that short run AS to the left. That's one. That's another one. And a larger market for the exports of countries. So I'm guessing the UK has sold more exports. More exports, more AD, so I'm looking for AD1 to AD2. And just double checking, yeah, that seems to be the answer, B. Which of the following is most likely to affect AD in the short run? I'm looking for C or an I or a G or X or M change in the short run. Innovation, that sounds like a long-term thing. Long-term productivity. Increase in government spending, yeah, that's immediate. That's going to affect your AD equation immediately. It's like even in the equation. Contractionary fiscal policy, that means that you are increasing taxes and decreasing government spending. And that usually decreases AD. I'm looking for something like that. Should cause unemployment, right? Because if you decrease AD, you will have less output, so you require fewer people to work. Decrease in inflation for sure. A fall in export volumes, I don't think that's related. I'm going for B. Conflict between macroeconomic policy objectives sometimes exists because demand pull inflation requires action. That increases aggregate demand. I'm not sure what that means. I'm just honest. I don't know what that means. Costs can be reduced only if prices fall. I mean, this is talking about objectives, and I don't think this is talking about objectives or objectives. I'm skipping these. Increase in aggregate demand might reduce unemployment, but result in a deterioration. Okay, this is better because it's talking about unemployment and the balance of payments, which is one of the objectives. So I think the only one that's talking about a conflict is C, but let me just double check if it makes sense. Increased AD, yeah, it can reduce unemployment because it increases output, so there's more employment. But because there's more employment, there's, people have more incomes and they import more stuff. So that's how it deteriorates. Which of the following forms part of the institutional structure of an economy? So institutions are things like banks. AD and short-run AS curve. Given that X is at the initial equilibrium position, what would be the new equilibrium? Okay, following an increase in the price of oil. Oil is a raw material, so you're increasing firm's average costs, and that shifts your short-run AS to the left. So I'm looking for something that shifted this to the left, and I'm guessing, we're starting from X, so I don't want to go to short-run AS too. Let me just cross that one out. And a general restriction on bank lending. If there's less lending, there'll be less consumption, I'm guessing. So you should also see a decrease in AD. Cross that one out. So here's where my highlighting skills are going to come in handy. And I think I'm left with T being the most likely answer. Oh, that's it, that's done. So hopefully you learned some really cool things and brushed up on some of your year 12 macroeconomics. Hope you found that enjoyable. Hopefully you found that motivating. Let me know in the comments what any other videos you'd like me to do. And yeah, have a look at some other videos. I have lots of other multiple choice questions to test you and try and catch you out. Thank you so much for watching. Otherwise, bye!